Hello and welcome to Midwest Writers Room. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and celebrate writers of the Midwest. I'm Luella Schmidt.
And I'm Ken Humphrey. Today's chapter break episode features DJ Slater and his debut publication, Legend Has It, which comes out on September 16th, 2025.
DJ Slater is a Milwaukee native with a love for sharing stories. He wrote his first in third grade, followed by several more during his school years, mostly about dinosaurs and an ambitious detective. His passion for writing took him on an appropriate career path: journalism, magazines, and marketing. He has a BA in journalism and history from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. When not writing, he loves acting, singing, movies, his family, friends, and not surprisingly, haunted house attractions. This is my favorite part. A special shout out to his late Grandma Barb, who told him to write his stories down.
Yep, way to go, Grandma Barb. Way to
I bet.
keep propping the kids out there. Everybody needs that. So let's take a look at the book Legend Has It. Here's a synopsis. Soon to be college graduate, Seth McCartney finds his love for his favorite October pastime, visiting haunted house attractions, fading. His best friend and fellow horror enthusiast, Peyton Fisher, has already moved on from this tradition and wants to help Seth do the same. But now, without one final hurrah, he suggests they find a fabled, traveling haunted house attraction said to be too extreme and scary to finish. Intrigued, Seth and his friends follow a lead to the elusive haunt's doorstep. But there's a reason this locale has a frightening reputation, especially when its hallways contain the depths of true terror.
Ooh, that sounds pretty good, DJ. Welcome to Midwest Writers Room. How you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. And what a wonderful welcome. It's funny hearing those bios in person because I never think about you read it to yourself when you write it, and then you hear it out loud, and you're like, oh yeah, the detective story, the dinosaur stories. Still
Those
have
might
those in the
resurface.
drawer upstairs.
That's right. They might see the light of day yet.
You never know. Might have to revisit those at some point.
And that kind of resonated with me because same thing, when I was in, I don't know, maybe third grade, somewhere thereabout, I did detective stories. They were all really just copies of Encyclopedia Brown's adventures. I just made up a character that was essentially Encyclopedia Brown and just would
Oh,
rewrite those
nice.
stories.
Nice.
I tried my thing with the detective story, and the friends that know me well know that it's kind of like me putting myself in a story as a detective when I was in high school. Basically, it takes like a detective story with hyper realism, but also creates a villain who's almost supernatural. And I kind of blend those two together. So it's a fun little thing. I was definitely inspired by the T-1000 in Terminator 2 for the villain for that one.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's talk about your book. Kick it off from the get-go. What inspired this story?
So there are two things that kind of play into that. The first one is I'm someone who obviously loves haunted houses, as I mentioned in my bio and so forth. And when I would go to haunted house attractions every October, I always heard this rumor of a haunted house that was 10 or 13 stories tall. And they would say, you sign a waiver to get into this place, but the actors can touch you. They can throw you out of the house. There's trap doors, there's live snakes, there's spiders, all these things designed to keep you from getting to the exit on the top floor. But if you get there, you get a big cash prize. And I'm like, I don't care about the cash prize. I want to see a haunted house that actually creates this sense of dread, if you will, is my thought. And so for a long time, I tried to see if I could find this place. But of course, when I heard these rumors, internet was kind of brand new, AOL dial up. So it's kind of like it's not as easy to find stuff. And so eventually, at one point, when I got to college, I looked into it deeper and I finally found this Snopes article that said, oh, it's made up. It's just a giant rumor. And I said to myself, but how cool would it be if that place did exist? And then I was in a haunted house. So that's the first piece of it. The second part is I was in a haunted house attraction, actually abandoned haunted house over in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. And I was inside it, and halfway through it, I had this random thought. And it was, what would I do if I was in this haunted house right now and every single threat turned on me and was real? And I was like, I'd be dead. I'd be dead. The strobe lights alone would just get rid of you. And so I said to myself, oh, that's really cool. What if we take that legend and take that concept, merge them together, and then take a guy who's heavy on nostalgia and gets himself caught into a position where he actually gets to basically face terror head on, but also isn't a haunted house attraction that literally could kill him.
And I don't know that I've ever wanted anything as bad right now as I want for that traveling, mysterious, haunted house thing to be real. I mean, how great would that be? I'd be like you, though. I would probably just die from fright. I would make it like
Yeah.
the second floor and I'd be done.
Yeah. No, there's definitely, like I said, it's one of those things as a kid, it's like, it'd be cool to, because when they always say the monsters can't touch you, it's like, I get that. Yeah, that's the whole point. But it also takes away this element of like, what if they could just snatch you out of here? Or if you saw one of your friends get pulled through a wall, just how creepy that would be. So, and then of course, making it deadly, it's like the idea of a haunted house that could actually kill you means that any little trap that's in there. I mean, honestly, how would you make it out of something like that? Because there are so many elements designed to turn you around and mess you up. So, like that whole concept alone is just like, and haunted houses all have their own unique design for levels. So it's like you could really play with a lot of that stuff, which is kind of what I did with these 10 floors here. A lot of things that I saw in my experience with the haunted houses were all fused into this. The things like some of them are really simple scares and some of them are really elaborate set pieces. So it kind of blends a lot of that.
It's so
What?
fun. Talk about writing what you know. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. What genre would you classify your book as?
I would say horror outright, but I have some friends of mine that are not into horror, but they also like suspense. So I guess it would kind of bleed into that as well. Because it's not necessarily like it's not a gore fest type thing. It's not a slashers thing. It's very much a slow burn with some supernatural elements thrown into it as well, but not like, the heavy, it's not like heavy magical stuff. It's just how do you put monsters in a haunted house, but also ground it as real as you can. So it's kind of, I'd say horror, suspense, a little bit of thriller would be in there. Not too much romance, maybe a slight hint
Sure.
of that, but I would not categorize it as a rom com by any means. Definitely horror suspense though.
Yeah, conflicting genres right there. No place
Totally
for a
doesn't work.
rom-com. So with this being your debut novel, you got to run the gauntlet for publication. Talk us through that. What was that like for you?
Oh my goodness, that's a that's a journey in itself. I had the naivety when I was younger to think that you basically have talent, you write a novel, and you put it out there, and then all of a sudden you become a bestseller, and you just coast on that. Like when I was younger, I believed that was true, and so I
Wait, wait,
thought, I'm
wait.
just
That's not
talented.
true. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I'm
wish
not
it
that
was.
young, and I still believe that. You just crushed me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It's a hard lesson. No, but like I thought that. I used to think to myself that it was just talent alone, and there's so many more elements to it. But the general thing was this. I had the idea. I wanted to write it. I wanted to do it. And at one point, it was the idea of just doing it as a short story. Like Legend Has It was going to be just a short story and a series of short stories. My original goal was to write an anthology of some kind with different little shorts. But as I was, studying and like digging into this lore, I got to a place where I'm like, this could be a full book because there's so much to play with. And so from there, I sat down, wrote the novel. It was 2013 when I started writing on a plane ride to Houston, ironically, because I was going to a trade show. And I'm like, you know what? Write the prologue, get it out of it. And it just flew out of me. And then it was from there about a page or two a night when I could get to it. I didn't have kids yet. And then I finished it in 2015 after like my first child was born. And so that happens, and I get to the place where I'm like, okay, make some edits to it. And then by 2016, it was okay. Now let's push it out to publishers and agents and see how that goes. And I had to talk to a lot of different people. I had one person, Lynn is her name. I have it in the book in the acknowledgments, but she was somebody that I knew through a friend who basically had knowledge of the publishing industry and how to get things published. So I went through that, wrote a query letter, did a synopsis, and just started pitching it to agents. And I had some luck in the early going. I had like 3 full requests, but like 40 rejections. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Eventually, I got to a place where I got frustrated with that, put it on the back burner for a bit. And then by 2019, there was a thing called Pitch Wars. It was like a Twitter contest type thing where you pitch your stuff out to, to get into the whole thing of it, to not get too deep into the weeds. You basically pitch your novel out there, and if it goes through a contest, you basically get a mentor author to help you get it ready for publication. That's a very rough way to say it. But anyway, I did not win that contest, but I did. But the author that was the person that was going to mentor the people I did win saw my book, went through the whole thing, and it was Anna, and she gave me all this feedback. And you don't get that when you get rejected. No one gives you anything. So it's like when you don't know what you're doing wrong half the time. So you're like, well, they don't like it. It's not for them. Is it me? Is it this element? But she gave me really particular feedback about deep narrative third person voice. And once I had that, I unlocked a whole new level for the characters, and it changed everything. So then when I went back and put it out there in 2024 for a Pit Dark thing, which is basically pitching for dark literature, Rowan Prose Publishing saw it, liked it, gave them my materials. Kelly Moran, the publisher of that group, said to me, hey, I'm going to get to this soon, but want to let you know I actually am from Wisconsin, and I know about this haunted house legend. That's really cool. And I was like, she didn't accept it then yet. She didn't go into it there. But knowing that she knew the legend and had some excitement for it, I was like, this is different. Like most people don't say that stuff to me. So she has a tie. And then later on, it was June 8th. Never forget this. I was going to an appointment. I opened an email and I see, hey, I saw Legend Has It, really liked it. And I'm like, okay, here comes the form rejection. I know what this is like. And she goes, I'd like to offer you a contract. And I double taked it. I felt my eyes well up. I called my wife and I said, I have to run to an appointment really fast. Can you read this, make sure it's real, and make sure this is not some phony, fake publisher or something like that? Because I know there's always those horror stories. And sure enough, I get back and I'm like, my God, it's legit. So then I call Kelly. We have a half an hour, 45-minute conversation on the phone, and we're discussing stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. So I know that it's an insane, everybody's journey is different. And, when I tell people like, yeah, it took me 10 years to get this thing published, like it wasn't 10 years of writing, but it was like just crafting and going through the motions and learning on the fly and just failing and eventually finding the person that it works with. And that's the longer story of how I got from point A to point B.
Well, and your
It's a
acceptance,
winding path.
yeah, that should be the way it should be for every author, right? Just you run that gauntlet, but then you get it and you're almost overwhelmed to the point of, is this real or am I being pranked? So that's, I
Yeah, I
like that
seriously
story.
got goosebumps just hearing your, the residual excitement from you getting that email.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's
Yeah.
something else. Like I can still feel it. I can still feel
I
that
love
feeling
it.
because it's like because you don't think it's going to happen. You get to a point where you're like, is this ever going to work? Because like my dream as a kid was to, and I guess if I can share stories on this because it's in the same realm, one of my favorite stories I tell people is aftercare after school. I have two grandmothers. Grandma Barb, about because she's dedicated to her. She was the person that let me watch horror movies when I shouldn't have watched horror movies. And then there was
Go
Grandma
Barb.
Katie. She was the nice grandma who watched all the 80s like blockbusters and Twilight Zone and stuff like that. So, but on there, I remember watching Back to the Future. And at the very end of that movie, there's that moment where George McFly comes in, this guy who's unsure of himself. And he gets to this place where he's in this new reality and he has his book in the mail. He comes up, opens the box, and she goes, honey, it's your first novel. And I saw that as a kid. And I said, how cool would that be? To because I have all these ideas in my head and I want to get them out. And it's like, how cool would that be to have a book in the mail? And then on July 6th, I figured that out. I had mine come in the mail and I was like, oh my God, it's ridiculous. Like I get teary-eyed thinking about it still.
Wow.
That's
Life
fantastic.
mimics art, I guess.
That's right.
All right. Luella, shall we?
Yeah, you bet. So, DJ is going to read an excerpt from his novel. When you are ready, take it away. And maybe before you start, give a little bit of a description for our listeners as to where you're reading from.
Sure. I'm going to pull this up on my computer screen so I can't see anybody else here. So I had a few options for this, and it's a matter of which ones do you give you without giving you too many spoilers. So the best thing for me is I'm going to go with a excerpt from chapter 6, which is basically when they're on the first level of the haunted house, and each level is different. So in this one, they go down an elevator shaft down 4 floors, and they're basically they come out into a catacombs, like a full scale out of Paris catacombs. And this is the conversation between just the parties involved as they see something a little strange in the hallway. And like I said, it's very much a slow burn type horror situation. So here we go. I'll start from there. This is very detailed, Jessica said to Seth. It looks like the catacombs in Paris. That was a fun trip. You were in Paris. When was this? My freshman year of high school, she replied. My parents took me and my sister. We did the typical tourist stuff and went to the catacombs on our last day. It was creepy, kind of like this place. I won't disagree with that, but I like it, Seth said. It's very elaborate. I mean, look at the attention to detail. The walls are actual stone. The prop skulls have some serious weight to them. And to think, it's only the first level. And you worried this place wasn't real, Peyton said. Hey, I'm happy to be proven wrong, Seth replied as they neared the first bend. The pathway shifted to the left, which put Seth on high alert. They had reached their first turn and had not seen a single actor during the short span. Huh, that's kind of lame, Peyton said. You have this long-ass hallway right at the start, and you don't have a single scare. Wasted opportunity, man. Well, this place has 10 levels, Seth said, turning the corner. I'm sure they're coming. Another hallway, absent of any presence but their own. It was nearly a spitting image of the previous one. Stone walls lit by torches and floodlights. Skulls fighting for space on carved shelves, and fragments of bone mixed in with the dirt. Once again, there appeared to be no hidden compartments or hiding places. Interesting, Seth said, a tad surprised by his findings. The group passed momentarily before proceeding. Their next turn was a short distance away. What's interesting? Jessica asked. It's so quiet, he replied, and empty. Hopefully it'll stay that way, right? Jessica said playfully, cracking a smile. Seth returned the gesture. I don't think we're going to get off that easy. Definitely not easy. A house with this reputation wouldn't make a simple walkthrough. Nearing the end of the second hallway without an incident seemed like an odd choice, yet perhaps that was the intention. Give the guests a false sense of security and then spring some scares and challenges out of nowhere. As Seth neared the end of the second hallway, his peripheral vision caught a blurry glimpse of a white mass to his right. His head snapped in that direction, confirming the presence of something waiting for them in the middle of the third hallway. The white mass quickly came into focus. A full-scale skeleton hung from a noose roughly 3/4 deep down the corridor. The rest of the hallway mirrored the aesthetics of the previous two. The group held their position at the bend, waiting for Seth to step forward. His hesitation kept their feet rooted. You guys see that down there? Seth asked, his right index finger aimed directly at the hanging bones. You mean the skeleton, right? Jessica asked meekly. Yes, but do you see that? Seth asked again, this time moving his finger horizontally in a gentle swinging motion. They didn't notice it immediately, but Seth's keen eye caught the subtle swinging motion of the skeleton. Once their minds registered it, their posture switched to guarded stances. Freaky, Angie said. Either there's a machine moving that thing or someone else is down there, Peyton said playfully. Ooh, what fun. A legendary haunt couldn't go on much longer without some scare tactic. Hanging skeletons slinging slightly in the hallway without a breeze created the right amount of tension. Someone had to be nearby. Stay close, guys, Seth said. This is going to be interesting. The group crept forward, their feet gingerly connecting with the ground to blunt the loud crunch of dirt and bone fragments. Seth shot his eyes down the hallway, searching for seams and other oddities, but he had the same result as before. Unless the incomplete skeletons on the shelves came to life, the only scare available was going to come from up ahead. Surprisingly, they reached the skeleton without a jump scare. Nothing shot from the shelves. The floor didn't give away to a subterranean trap. Monsters didn't jump out from the ceiling or break through a fake wall. While their surroundings emitted a chilling atmosphere, they had yet to see anyone else in the catacombs with them. Seth gave the hanging skeleton a quick review before reaching out and gripping the right femur, halting its remaining momentum. That's cold and firm and dense. It was definitely not plastic. Wow, that's a good prop, he said. Feels real. Not that I have any idea what a real bone feels like. What if it is real, though? Ooh, Peyton did his best impression of a ghost. Maybe Seth laughed it off. Past victim, I guess. Not sure how they met their demise, Peyton said. Haven't seen any monsters yet? Yeah, I don't get it. You think they'd throw in at least one jump scare with these great set pieces. We'll see. Still a long way to go before we're back outside. If we make it back outside, Peyton replied as he circled the group while ensuring that Jessica's ears picked up his words. He didn't get the reaction he wanted, one of dread and overwhelming fear. Instead, her face carried a curious expression as she approached the skeleton. Her left hand grasped the right tibia near the base of the ankle. That's strange, she whispered to herself as her fingers caressed the smaller foot bones. All of them had the density of real bone. As she released the skeleton's foot, her eyes picked up severe damage on its right ankle, as well as deep indentations on the back and left femur and lower back. Surface scratches covered several other bones, especially along the rib cage. Once she reached the neck, she barely noticed the multiple punctures in the bone. Instead, a gold chain necklace, partially obscured by the noose, made her face crinkle with confusion. A gold cross charm rested near the skeleton's sternum. Weird, she whispered to herself as her hand fell to her side. Her attention shifted to Seth, who moved a few paces ahead. What the hell, he said quietly. What's that? Angie asked as she approached him, the rest of the group closing the gap. I was thinking we'd run into someone down here, that's all, Seth said, the mild disappointment evident in his voice. Why is that? The skeleton, he said, turning back to it. It's moving when we turn the corner, and from what I can tell, there's no draft down here. Well, maybe it was whoever ran down there. Where? Down there. And that's where we stop it.
I love the fact that they're, just critiquing everything they see because they at this point obviously still kind of think it's just your standard
Right.
spooky house, right?
Right. And it's a lot of I chose something with more setup and so forth because I don't want to get into all the really good scares, but I like because there's a lot of moments like that in the early going, like you said, the it makes no sense out of context, but those surface scratches and the gold charm play into something from the prologue.
Sure. Nice.
And I like it because that suspension of disbelief, which is
Mhm.
critical for haunted houses, doesn't just happen with a snap, right? I mean,
Mhm.
these characters are essentially going to be forced into that suspension of disbelief, I would expect, right?
Mhm.
They're critical
Right.
now and then things will turn. So yeah, way to leave that
Yeah.
off. Good cliffhanger.
Yeah. And there's a lot of little like I said, I could pick some. I wanted to do level 3 the most, but there's such a cool sequence that I've never seen before ever reenacted. So I want to leave that to everybody else to read. Because
Great.
my
Yeah.
sister was my beta reader. We both are big into horror, and there's a moment in level 3 especially, which is like a hall. It's a hallway full of like those cheap plastic masks and black light, and something happens down that hallway. And she told me when she read the first draft, she was like, "I have never seen that ever happen in anything." So I'm like,
Ooh.
let's hope we have something
Yay.
there.
Let's
This is
go. All
That's
right.
a really fun tone, I think, too. Just the fact that, when we read the synopsis, you talked about how, this is a post like nearing the end of college
Hmm.
age, and the fun and mystique of haunted houses is maybe fading for your peers. And so I don't know, they're just putting that all together with their sort of ability in that
Hmm.
scene you read for them to analyze, oh, this nice prop, this is real looking, this is bad. Why aren't they doing this, from more of a production
Right.
angle? I just got a kick out of that, putting that all together.
Right, and
So
there's definitely there's also some puzzles that show up later as well too in certain areas where they have to solve those, and it's a lot of deduction and a lot of reason work as well. So it's like, in many ways, I don't want to call it an escape room, but it has some elements of that thrown in.
sure.
But
Oh,
I do like the fact that like I created characters that I've watched enough horror that I hate the person falls down, breaks an ankle, over, done, and I didn't want that here. I wanted characters that were really smart, but were in over their heads. And I think
yeah.
you'll get that because even there's moments where someone is hurt and they keep plugging along.
Perfect. So tell our listeners where they can find your book and where they can find more about you and follow the launch process with you.
Sure thing. I'm on almost every social platform that I can possibly think of, which I guess is a cool thing and a bad thing because I'm not really a social media guy, but I'm also trying to embrace it. But I try to make this really easy. The best place to find all of this information is start at my website, which is djslaterauthor.com. I have a blog on there. It has links to buy the book, pre-order it right now, and then also links to all my socials up top, and anything else you want to find out about me is all on that page. And that way, if you want to go to my TikTok, it's up top. You want to go to my Facebook, I have stuff everywhere. And I try to make that, like I said, as easy as possible. One spot to find it all.
Very cool.
Great.
And I guess I would be remiss too if I didn't kind of ask about the horror anthology that WWA has sponsored from a submission standpoint. Did you participate in that? Are you aware of it?
I saw something on that, but I think I ran out of. It's already done, isn't it? Or
Yes.
I
Yeah, I've
the
finished.
deadline for it. Okay, I might have caught it too late. I think part of I did submit to something else. There was a contest, like a short story contest or something like that. So I did that. But as I've found in recent times, marketing a novel that's coming out is a lot more work than I expected. And I'm not mad
Same.
about it because I have that background. But yeah, I want to write a lot more, and it's just hard to do right now.
It's a lot more work and it's a completely different skill set than actually
Hmm.
writing the novel. And that's, I think, what a lot of authors find out the hard way.
Hmm. Can I know we're getting close to the end. Can I also mention that Legend Has It is part of a trilogy?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
really? So book one, huh?
Yeah, so I didn't want to get it out there as far in the open as possible. I mean, my socials it's all quiet, hush, hush. But those that know me know that this is basically part one of 3 books. And as I said in my query letter when I was pitching it, it can work as a standalone story. It could end and it could just be that's the end of it. But if Legend Has It is a story about a haunted house in McGuanago, Wisconsin, and it's in that location. The second one takes so remember the haunted house is a traveling haunted house, right? And it's gone across the Midwest over the years. What happens when you take a band of survivors from other previous haunts that go after the person responsible for this one and go across the United States to stop them by going to haunted locations to do it? And then the third one, which makes no sense out of context, but makes sense when you know the whole through line, takes place in Japan.
Well, I mean, your
Wow.
enthusiasm is going to take you easily through those books, I think. I mean, it's really
Oh,
exciting.
Yep.
there is a like I said, I can't talk about it, but there is a only like 3 people know where this goes. like my sister, my wife, and the person that I named the villain after. She's from Japan and came over here to visit us back in July. Oh, actually, yeah, that was last month already. And she knows that through line as well. And it's one of those things where there is a certain twist in the second one that is so big on like a grand scale where it's like you end that book and you go, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then you get to the third one and it's a whole different thing. So I think I wish I could share more, but it's just, oh, it's so cool. It's such a,
Well, you're going to have to come back on here and tell us after each one. So
Right.
we're going to go
Yep.
right along with you.
We're already pre-booking two more
That's
appearances.
right.
And
Right.
in addition to those 3 people, now people in 16 countries know about your book. So lift the lid on that one.
I like it though. That's cool. Like I said, I don't mind sharing that. I think it's going to be fun. And I wish I could write it quicker. Everything takes time.
Yep, don't we all? All right, so I want to take the time now to thank DJ for coming on to introduce everybody to his debut novel, Legend Has It. Thanks to everybody out there for listening to the Midwest Writers Room. I'm Ken Humphrey.
I'm Luella Schmidt. Words ignite imaginations and spark change. Never underestimate the power of storytelling.
Midwest Writers Room is a production of the Wisconsin Writers Association. Writing and editing by Luella Schmidt and Ken Humphrey. Sound design and editing by Ken Humphrey. Music for the Midwest Writers Room was written by Michael Ramirez C. For more information, please visit wiwrite.org/podcast. Thank you.